Welcome to Life After 40 Conversations with Philip Blackett. This is a space for honest, thoughtful conversations about midlife, without the hype, without diagnosis, and without pressure. If you're somewhere between 35 and 55 years old and quietly navigating questions about your energy, your identity, your work, your faith, your relationships, or your health, you're not alone. Midlife can often look stable on the outside and feel unsettled underneath. Life After 40 conversations exist to do one thing well: to give adults in midlife the language, the clarity, and calm perspective for a season that can often feel confusing, lonely, or silently overwhelming. This show exists to help you feel seen, steady, and less alone as you navigate the second half of life. Now, mind you, this is not a self help program. It's not a medical show. It's not a motivational pep rally. What this is a meaning making space. Each episode is a grounded conversation with me and leaders, caregivers, entrepreneurs, pastors, parents, professionals, and thoughtful human beings who are living through midlife in real time, just like you and me. We reflect on lived experiences without issuing prescriptions with peer pressure. Because I believe in this deeply. Midlife is worth living and worth living well. And living it well doesn't start with pressure, it starts with perspective. So if you ever thought to yourself, why does this season feel different for me? Or why am I rethinking things that used to feel settled? You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I'm grateful that you're here. So let's begin today's conversation. I'm really excited about today's conversation. Our guest today is someone who has built a powerful reputation around something we talk a lot about on this show: the idea that real transformation happens in community, not isolation. My friend Joe Martin is the founder of Relentless Positivity Fitness, where he has spent years helping people, especially women over 40, improve their health, energy, and confidence through supportive fitness communities. What makes Joe's story so interesting is that his work goes far beyond workouts. Over the years, he's built a community that has helped people navigate some of life's toughest lessons, from illness and loss to major life transitions, while forming friendships and support systems that last far beyond the gym. Joe is also the host of the Huntsville Hustle podcast, where he sits down with entrepreneurs and business leaders locally to explore the lessons behind building businesses, serving communities, and showing up consistently, even when the journey gets tough. At the heart of everything Joe does is a philosophy he calls relentless positivity. The belief that when people are surrounded by the right support, the right encouragement, and the right accountability, they can accomplish far more than they've ever imagined. So today, we're going to talk about leadership, community, resilience, and what it really takes to help people transform their lives, especially in midlife. Joe, welcome to Life After 40 Conversations.
Philip, man, like, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate you asking me to be on.
Man, I'm just so excited for this. It's been a great time just learning how things have progressed with you and having another conversation like this with among friends. So happy to do this. So just to get started, I know I shared a little bit about yourself to the audience. Love to learn from your own words here. Before the titles and the resume, who is Joe in this season of life?
Man, it's an ever changing thing, as you know. You kind of That's where a good theme for your show is people are always changing and growing, and who you are 20 years ago is who totally different. So for me now, I'm a recent empty nester, man. Well, fairly recent, man. So you've got younger kids right now. I went through that season, and you're a totally different person you're going to be when they're out of the house. But me and my wife we're figuring this out, right? So the first week my son was off to school, it was awful. It was like a grieving period. It was like I was not expecting that. So now, but the second week, the most productive week of my life. I'm not gonna lie, man. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. That and my background is how I got into fitness is I was an athlete growing up, and then I got injured, then I got overweight, and I lost all that weight, and I was like, man, I feel great, and love help other people do the same. So I think a lot of my success has come from that empathy, from my background, of just being I've been where you are, and I can help you get to where you want to go.
That's excellent. And so I definitely resonate, or I want to at least, with the empty nester. I know I got 9 more years to go. Now, I'm not trying to hurry it, but I also know it's coming. So I definitely can hear the increased productivity. That sounds good. Maybe fewer gray hairs. That's probably sounds good too.
Be
Um,
careful, man. The gray can go to right here real quick.
that is true too. So I'll cherish this for as long as I can, for the next 9 years at least.
There
We'll
you
see
go.
how
Hey,
it goes after that.
you can dye your hair, man. There ain't nothing you can do about
So speaking of changes, when you reach midlife, Joe, and like I said, I usually classify midlife between 35 and 55 years old. When did you first realize something had shifted within you?
I think that's pretty reasonable. I was probably about 38 years old. I said, "Man, my body is starting to fall apart." I mean, at just at 30, that's not that old. Like I'm 48 now, so about 38. That also coincided when I started training jujitsu. I think those two kind of, but I figured, hey, I actually have to warm up before I work out. This is terrible. You start realizing these things that you are not 21 years old anymore. So I think about 38, I started making some changes there that what worked before will not work right now. So I think that's also helped a lot of my clients as well, that because they compared themselves to a 20-year-old metabolism when they're in their 50s. That's a whole nother person right now. So it's like just starting to realize that, hey, I got to warm up. I got to sleep more. I got to improve my nutrition. All these things they have to start changing, or you're just going to start falling apart even worse.
And I can definitely attest to that too, Joe. Like honestly, like after this episode, I'm actually going to see the foot doctor for the first time in my life because I do martial arts with my girls, and I recognize very quickly that my body is not the same as theirs
Yeah.
compared to when I was doing taekwondo when I was their age.
Yep.
And I better understand. So I follow football, and I never quite understood what turf toe was.
Man, they need to give that a more painful sounding name, right? That is super painful, and it doesn't sound that bad till you actually have it.
It doesn't. And then I'm like trying to figure out what is wrong with my big toe. And they're like, okay, it could be turf toe. And I was like, yeah, turf toe doesn't seem like it covers it. Like, cause I'm like on the mat for martial arts. I'm hitting boards and targets with my foot. And I realize it's different now.
Yeah.
It's
Game's changed.
different.
The game has changed. Yeah.
So I'll definitely account that for something for me when I realize, as a reminder, my body is different from when I was 30, even 40 years younger, it seemed like. Um, so I guess in that same theme here, Joe, like what did what did you recall, like what used to work for you that suddenly didn't anymore?
For me, it was for years, I worked out by myself in my garage. All I had was, some bar, some plates, some dumbbells by myself, just out there, hot, cold, whatever. I think I'm getting a little soft, man, in my older age. I like air conditioning. I like heat in the winter, and I need to be around people. Right? So I have a gym on my backyard. That's my business. I train people in my backyard. A separate building. That's where I run my business, and I can work out there. I can just walk out there and be in the gym. I went and joined another gym, and then I work out at another place to be around people. I need that group atmosphere. I need that accountability that I preach so much to my clients. Hey, turns out I actually needed it as well. That was a big change for me for years, probably 20 years, just me in the garage. But hey, that's definitely changed.
I think that's so telling, Joe, because I think back to your emphasis on community. And I'm curious your take on this in particular because of where things are as a society now, whether it's like the increased polarization where you feel like you can't just say anything without possibly being canceled, or friendships being unfriended, or technology where people feel so isolated nowadays with social media. Like, what have you found, like, maybe this is, like, more important now as you've gotten older, like the power of community and how, like you said before, like, you could just go outside and go work out. You can just work in your gym and you'd be fine. Like, I took care of myself, but to the point of joining a gym primarily for the social component, like, what makes that significant for you, do you think?
I think you and you've probably seen this as well. When you get kind of that mid age, it's hard to make friends. It's hard to have those opportunities to be around other people and in a social atmosphere. If you don't, go out to bars or whatever people do. I don't know. I'm lame, man. I don't do stuff. So to get around other people and just be uplifted, and there's no way I'd push myself that hard by myself. Just being around and then just community aspect of it. I think especially as guys, when you hit your 40s, it's tough to find friends. Like I said, when you have kids, you can kind of get around other parents and things like that. But I think the power of community, like I think back when my son played basketball, you immediately gel with the other parents. You have a common interest, which I think is something. If you sit down with your worst enemy, you could probably figure out some common ground. If you just got to talk and had shared a meal or something, I know you're an expert on this, man. We talked a while back about just can people just talk, just and having a way to find the places I work out. There's people from all different backgrounds, but all we have a common goal. We just sit together. I think that's so powerful when you come together in community.
No, I completely agree with you. And I remember our conversation back then as well. That is part of the implied purpose with the show, even to begin with, Joe, because I realized from doing a number of conversations like this, I quickly realized from talking to people from different backgrounds about a common topic, midlife, and how do you experience it. There's a lot more we have in common than the media would like us to believe. And I think that's been a intrinsically motivating reason for me to do this show, to help highlight just exactly what you're talking about. It's the fact that, hey, listen, we may be from different states and different places and different backgrounds, an empty nester, one with young kids. At the same time, one with gray hair, one with no hair on top. Like, at the end of the day, still, there's still common elements. Some things you might have already experienced that I can learn from you. And likewise, there may be some things that I can teach and share with you. And that whole aspect, you can't do that by yourself. You can't
Exactly.
talk back and forth to AI and call that community. Like, it has to be with real human beings. And I love that fact that you make that such an important thing for you. Um, so in addition to just noticing how important community is for you, because, like you said, I'm with you. I don't see bars as the social setting for me anymore. That was like 20 years ago in college. That's why I don't do it. But I gotta find community somewhere because, like you said, once you have a family, you kind of like, this is it. This is my unit. This is my day to day. So, along with the importance of community for you, what surprised you most about this season?
That's a good question, man. I'm really thinking about all the changes I've been through over the years. Just as a business owner, you've had to really make some changes. So uh, I think just to focus on I cannot just keep grinding. I used to when I first started my business, it's like a sprint. If you do a lot of exercise people on this show, right? You only sprint for so long. When you're younger, you probably sprint a lot longer. I'm pushing 50 now, and the sprints are much shorter. I mean, I can do them. Like I'm working on something right now. It's kind of like a sprint. I'm working on this certification thing that hey, this is a sprint. So I know I can put my head down and go to work hard for 6 weeks, but I'm gonna have to back off. When I first started my business, it was I was working three jobs and going to grad school and just making it work. Got a young kid. You just got to put your head down and go to work. Now that would crush me. I look back and like, how did I get through those days? I think that's coming to that realization that you are not 21 and you got to figure out, got to manage your energy, got to manage your time much better than you used to.
Yep. No, I agree with you. It's different now. It's truly different. And so in that case, and I guess you kind of answered this a little bit, but just to make sure I got this right, what do you feel like midlife forced you to stop ignoring? And what changed once you paid more attention to it?
I think, I know you had a previous guest talk about something similar that no is a complete sentence. Okay. You could tell people you're allowed to tell people no. I know you said you're a recovering people pleaser yourself. So I am as well, man. I want people to, man, that's kind of my thing. I want people to be happy. I want to help them. But I want to maximize my time. That's kind of what I'm looking like. I don't want to be kind of middle ground for a bunch of people. I want to really make some change in a few little areas. And you can't do that if you're trying to be all things to all people. So, recovering people pleaser was probably the thing. And then when I started doing that, guess what? I, s- Everything started growing that I actually put my attention to. When before, I was doing all of these things, but nothing was really moving. So now to kind of see the needle move, that's a big change I've noticed.
Now, I resonate. Recovering people pleasers unite,
Yeah,
essentially.
oh, that's it. That's it.
Um, because I think to that same point too, Joe, it's like, I really think it's hard to think that people relish being disliked, right? It's like people want to feel appreciated, feel loved, feel liked, feel included. So it's hard for someone to say no when someone's asking for something and thinking about what is that person's likely response to it or reaction. And who knows how it could be? It could be someone that says, "Hey, I understand," or somebody's like fuming at the bits, wants to, put that jujitsu to action with you all of a sudden. Um, and I think that's something that a lot of people in midlife deal with, just choosing themselves, prioritizing themselves. Oftentimes, especially as parents, you are often putting other people first before you. And I'm sure you relate to this in what you do every day. A lot of what gets put on the back burner for these people is oftentimes their health. It's like, hey, I'm so busy with work. I'm so busy with making sure the kids are okay. I'm so busy about making sure I have a roof over our heads, making sure we're safe. I haven't even thought about if what I'm eating is the right thing. I'm just picking what's easy. It's late night. I'm tired. Hey, reach for that bottle, reach for that snack, go to that convenience store. I don't have time to cook. And so I can definitely understand the pressure there. And I also appreciate how you've learned that that's not the right way for you to go. Because I would imagine, you know, what do you think it would have cost you if you did keep going the same way and trying to do the same things you had done when you were 20 years younger? Or, you know, some of the things that maybe some of your clients may be struggling with right now and not recognizing that if they don't change something soon, this is where I potentially can go.
Yeah, a lot of our clients are that's what we work with is they've been taking care of kids and building careers and doing these things, and now the kids are out of the house. It's like, oh, now what? I'd finally take care of me. But for me, if I hadn't changed that, I definitely would have burned out. I don't think my business would have survived. You can only take that for so long. I see it with a lot of my colleagues that they try to keep that sprint going and it just crushes them, right? Mentally, physically, sometimes financially, that you just can't keep that pace up. So realizing that and pacing myself and realizing, hey, I'm in it for the long run. I don't want to just be this for a year or 2 years. This is, 30, 40-year plan I'm working on right here. So I've also helped my clients do the same because they go, okay, this is for the rest of your life. Okay. This is not something you're doing to lose weight for 30 days. You're in your 50s. This is somewhere started talking about longevity. If you get to where you can't stand up out of a chair anymore, guess what? You're dependent on someone else. We're going to try and cut that off of the past. We can start that now because I'm sure you've seen it. We're around the same age. Some people our age are starting to fall apart, and they got a long way to go. So if you can start kind of cutting some off of the path, you can reverse a lot of that before it gets to the point where you're like, oh man, because a lot of my colleagues or people my age are seeing their parents and like, oh man, I do not want that. So that's a lot of clients I work with now. It's like I see my parents in their 70s and 80s, and they're dependent on 100% on everybody else, and I do not want that for me.
Right. Amen to that. And so kind of looking from that, making that transition to something better for you, what would you say are some of the beliefs, some of the habits or rhythms for you that have now become non-negotiable to Joe?
Oh, exercise number one, I'm gonna do some every day. People talk about, oh, I killed that workout. I'm gonna get in there and lightly slap. I'm gonna get in there. He may not know he was in a fight, but I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna do something. It's a lot of it's mental. I mean, I want to be healthy and all those things, but it's a mental and emotional thing for me. I'm just so much more grounded. I'm a better person. I'm a nicer person if I could just get that workout in. And then I don't want to rely on. I want to be strong for the rest of my life and vibrant, and I can't have my son thinking he can take me. right? I got a 20-year-old kid. I got to stay right. I can't. He's at the Air Force Academy. He's doing all this training. I got to be right because he keeps trying to. He keeps pushing the date because he knows I'm getting older and he's getting better. So it was like when he graduated high school. He keeps pushing it down. He's waiting until I'm 70 years old, I guess, or something. But so I got to keep training for that, if nothing else.
That is awesome, and congrats to him. That's I'm sure you're a proud papa for that for sure.
It's
Um,
amazing, man. Seeing his hard work paying off has been great. Yeah.
that's excellent. And so leading into that, and I think even just kind of seeing your son progressing and growing and that sort, this might be part of this question here. What does thriving look like for you now, Joe?
For me, it's just waking up and having the energy and the passion to go out and do what I'm meant to do. I think that's kind of what your show is about, just people finding their purpose and really living in it, leaning into it. So it's all about energy at this point. I do want to be strong. There's things I want to do fitness wise, strength wise, but mainly it's all about having that energy because, when you wake up in those days, you just don't feel like doing anything. Oh, those are terrible, right? So I want to wake up and thrive, and then thriving is making a difference every day. So I see that in my class. I started a mentoring program for kids. I get to see it with them. So it's just those hands on. So if I can make a change, I mean, I get lifted by lifting others. That's just who I am. Just when I see someone, my goal is if you work with me, when you walk away, you're better than when you walked in that door. So if I could see that when they're walking out and they're lighter than the way they came in, that's thriving to me.
I love it. I love it. And this has been really helpful here, Joe, just to hear your perspective on this. Um, and just kind of understand, like, it's like, it seems like your perspective on like thriving, it like matured over time. And it got to the point where maybe some of the external factors were just exchanged for something more internally gratifying and fulfilling for you.
Yeah,
And so I think
yeah.
that's really helpful to go through. And I'm sure a lot of people can take note from that too. And so if there is someone that's listening to our conversation right now, Joe, and that person may feel like he or she is quietly drifting or burning out even in midlife, what do you want them to hear from you right now?
Hey, it's never too late. I don't care where you are, what kind of shape you're in, where if you're burning out, whatever. You can make a change today. Starting today. It doesn't have to be big. I think people, when they think about change, they think about just 180 degrees. I'm a completely different person. But man, what if you drank some water today? What if you had a vegetable, right? Or what if you went for a 10-minute walk? And you just build off those. That's a foundation. Start something. Pick out one habit. I think a lot of us, you'll see it in the gyms in January, right? Everybody's in there. I'm eating chicken and broccoli. I'm working out 2 hours a day and then they're gone in 2 weeks, right? So if you can just build what's the easiest habit you can install today? Maybe it's a 10-minute walk, drinking water, eating a vegetable, whatever it is, and start there. If that's an easy habit, you move on to add the second one. But I think the main thing is people get so overwhelmed when they have so much to change, they don't change anything. But I think you could see yourself drinking 12 ounces of water a day, taking a fit 5-minute walk, something like that, and then build on that. That's it. That's how you create habits is just making the rock solid one, move on to the next one.
I love it. You said the H word, habits. That's what
That's
it
it,
comes down to. Because
for sure.
to your point, like I would rather want people to be consistently good than occasionally perfect, right?
Right,
And
that's great. Great way to put it.
I'm sure that's kind of how you look at it too. It's just like you want people, hey, show up. It may be tough, but show up the next day. That might be the challenge in and of itself. Is like you kind of go through something different or difficult, but even showing up the next day and saying, "Hey, Joe, I'm here. I'm ready. Teach me." That's a win in itself. And even like you said before, it's just like it doesn't have to be big either. Like drink an extra cup of water. Go out for a 5-minute walk, especially if your job is having you sit for 6 to 7 hours a day. Every now and then, after 90 minutes of sitting down, go walk around the block or something like that. Go walk to the water cooler. Something. It just doesn't have to be huge. And I think if people can better understand that, Joe, where it doesn't have to be that significant to start, then you have something you can build on to gain momentum for later to see the results you're looking for. Right.
Yeah, you said the right word, momentum. Because I think people wait on the magic motivation fairy to show up and just sprinkle some dust on them. Today's the day. But it's the other way around. You got to do the action to create that momentum, to create the motivation. I think people get that backwards. They wait to be motivated to take the actions. But you got to do the action to get motivated because it's not going to happen. You know, I mean, how many times you wake up, I'm motivated to exercise. I do this for a living, and at 7 days a week, I may be motivated to do one or two, right? But I keep showing up anyway because I just do it, right? It's not at this point in my life; it's just a habit, and that's where you want to get to. But you got to take that first step. You don't have to worry, don't think about it. That's why you can't be overwhelmed. Start something small that you know you can do, that 90% confident you can do it, and start there.
I think you hit it on the nail on there too, Joe. It's just like even just to really like take a moment and just pause and just highlight that. Like 7 days working out, 1 or 2 of those days, you may actually feel like doing it. But what happens on those other 5 to 6 days? You still show up. And I love that because I think people can also resonate from this fact that we all do things that we love to do, and we all do things we don't necessarily love to do at that moment. Work is a great example. Many people, millions of people going to work every morning. Some that love it, some that don't. But yet and still they still show up, right? Because they know that it's going to support them and their families. It's the right thing to do, keeps them in the right place, right? Keeps them busy. Same thing with kids. Some days you feel like taking your kids to school. Sometimes you don't, but you still show up and do it because you know the school is going to help them grow. It's going to help them develop and get them to a point where they go out of your house into college and serving and being a productive citizen. But I think that's something that shouldn't go remiss for us as people in midlife, where it's just like that can be applied anywhere. And understanding that doing something because you are in the mood for it, you're probably not going to do it long, as opposed to, hey, there's a reason behind this, and I'm going to do it whether I feel like it or not consistently over time. And then you get to the point where you're like, man, I'm glad I just didn't let my feelings rule the day here or help me quit just because it wasn't the in thing to do today. So
Yeah, that's what I get trying to people. Can you just do the warm up? Like can you come? Can you show up and do the warm up? Because the hardest part is like just getting started, right? But once your body starts moving, it takes over, and I think you'll find you'll do the whole workout. But if you need the psychological thing of maybe just show up and do a warm up, and if nothing else, hey, you did a 5 minute warm up. You did something. That's better than a whole lot of nothing.
that's true. Absolutely. Well, Joe, this has been a great conversation here. I really feel like it is a breath of fresh air among friends to kind of share, hey, what we experience here in midlife. And I know this is helpful for a lot of people listening in. So for people that are listening and they resonate with you and what you shared and your work and want to follow you where you're going, where's the best place they can connect with you after this?
The hub for everything would be my website, be fitandpositive.com. But any of the socials, you can look up Relentless Positivity Fitness, and we'll be on all those socials.
Perfect. I'll make sure we include all that in the show notes here. So, Joe, I really think that this has been a very thoughtful and candid conversation. I really appreciate here. And I really appreciate the fact that your reflections can help people feel less alone because oftentimes we don't want to admit when we're struggling somewhere, even if it's just, someone said one time that what's the heaviest weight in the gym? And I was like, what? The front door. It's just to
It's
get
true. It's
inside.
true. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just helping people just say, hey, let's be honest about it. Let's be real. I get it. Joe gets it. And there's a reason to push through. There's a reason to keep going in midlife. There's a reason to look at it more positively and relentlessly towards your goals here, whether it's for yourself or for your family or for someone or something that you care about greater than yourself. And so, to everyone listening, let this be a reminder that midlife is not a problem to fix. It's a season to better understand where you are at this point. So, if there's something that Joe said today that really resonates with you, you don't need to rush into action right now. Open that front door to the gym maybe tomorrow and go and get started. Just take time to sit with what you're feeling. Notice what it's clarifying for you, where you need to pay attention to, because That's where real change begins, not with urgency, but with awareness. So, as we conclude today's conversation, to learn more about Life After 40, you can head over to our website at lifeafter40.com. You're also welcome to connect with me at philipblackett.com. And as a friendly reminder, if nothing else, as we talked about from our conversation here with Joe, just know that midlife is worth living and worth living well. Thank you so much, Joe, for spending time with us here on this episode. Thanks for everyone listening and watching us here. This has been Life After 40 Conversations with Philip Blackett. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you in the next conversation.